Okay, then. Happy Saturdays and happy Friday, Rob. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, guys. And I'm very happy to see you guys yet again. Yes, we are late. I think we missed meetup for one quarter, but we are back. And thanks for joining. This boosts my morale and helps me, to create such event month after month. Okay, so let's talk about the agenda. We will do a small introduction about me and maybe I'll introduce Rob, who is Rob and how he's helping community and stuff. And then we will directly talk about our special event about app auto patch. How can we patch our application on Mac devices? So by now, I think most of you would know me, but for few of them who have joined the event for the first time, my name is Salim Okani, and in community, people know me from STEM Star 777 ID. I have 15 plus years of experience, both in Mac and Windows platform. I am Jamf 200, 240, 300, 370, and 400 certified. I love to help people. And that's where, we started this community, India Apple Admin. And I'm very proud to say that on Jamf Nation from India, this is the first community which we have set up. Very good. For the guys who have joined us for the first time, I'll give you a
Just
couple of seconds, to scan the QR code. We have a Telegram group named India Apple Admins. And if you want to join our Telegram group, please scan this QR code and join us. Note, you will need Telegram app on your mobile phone for this QR code to work efficiently. I'll just give you a few more seconds to scan the code. Let's talk about our special guest today. Uh, we have Rob, and I'm very thrilled to welcome Rob today. He's a senior Mac engineer, and he's also an ex-Jamf employee. He is here to present the solution called App Auto Patch, which is very well known in the community, and it's going to surely help each one of us in this. Rob is supporting the Mac devices and community since over a decade now. Okay. And he is part of numerous open source projects like Set Up Your Mac, App Auto Patch, and many more. You know, and he's also a frequent presenter, like in a conference like Jamf Nation User Conference. It's one of the biggest conference for MacAdmin, and Rob has already presented probably twice by now in those conferences, and he's also one of our frequent presenter in India's Apple Admin. I'm very proud to have him in the community, right? And without further delay, let's give a warm welcome to Rob and hand it over to Rob. Over to you, Rob, for today's event on App Auto Patch.
Hey, thanks, Sam. Thank you so much for the warm welcome. I'm glad to be here. It's amazing to always present to you guys and be able to share kind of what we're doing. So yeah, so we'll get into it. I'll go ahead and share my presentation. Everything coming through okay, Sam?
Yes, we can see the screen.
All right. All right, yeah, so we're going to talk about App Auto Patch. So streamlining Mac patch management for administrators. Let's see. So good morning, everybody. Good morning for you. Good evening for anyone near me. Like Sam said, my name is Robert. I'm a senior Apple engineer at my organization, and my focus is very heavy on automating and improving our workflows for all of our Apple computers and our devices. I do have an extensive background in managing Apple devices that covers higher education spaces, MSP, and enterprise environments. I was also a Windows sysadmin for a long time, and that changed around 2012. That's when I started managing Macs. So around macOS OS X 10.8 is about when I started managing Macs. And then, as you know, we're going to talk about App Autopatch today. This project was really designed to streamline the process of patching third-party apps on macOS. And by this automation, you can reduce security risks, you can improve your compliance, and you can save time for you as the admin and for your end users. This is an open source project available on GitHub. We'll walk through how it works, why we built it, and how you can start using it inside of your environments. So let's dive in. So here's our agenda. We're going to cover overview, spend some time looking over the variables and configurations. Then we'll talk about how we can deploy App Autopatch in our environments. And then we'll also talk about some future developments that we're working on. And then at the end of the presentation, we'll give some time for Q&A. So I know Sam said that some people here are already using App Autopatch, but if you're unaware, App Autopatch was designed to make life easier for MacAdmins by automating and simplifying the application patching process. So really, this started out with a big challenge, right? At my organization, I was tasked to patch all of our third-party apps on our Macs. And after an initial audit of the applications, we had over 2,500 application titles throughout our environment, right? And you can imagine trying to create patch management titles for each one of those, setting up Jamf app installers for those that do exist, creating a ton of policies, right? And it just seemed really overwhelming. So I had an idea that, what if it didn't matter what applications were actually installed on the computers? If we had something that could look at what's installed presently and look at and see what needs updates, and if it needs updates, then go ahead and process that update. So really, this was designed to simplify and automate the entire app patching process for MacAdmins. So it takes what was a manual task of creating patch policies and turning it into something that can be efficient and scalable, right? Currently, this tool integrates seamlessly with Jamf. So if you are using Jamf as your MDM, it's really easy to get started. It uses swiftDialog. So thanks, Bart, for swiftDialog. To present the end users with some dialog prompts, let them know kind of what's going on during the application patching process. And it also relies heavily on another project called Installomator to be able to fetch the downloads, compare versions, install the apps, all of those kind of things. So at the very beginning of App Autopatch, it was heavily inspired by another project called Patchomator. And at its core, App Autopatch uses Installomator, like I said, which has access to a huge repository of applications, right? So, and then with App Autopatch, you guys can easily customize patching requirements based on your specific environment needs. Really, the goal was to provide a solution that not only addresses, the complexity of patching in large environments, but also gives MacAdmins a more automated and reliable way to maintain security and compliance. So, how does App Autopatch work? There's really three main phases to how it functions. First is the discovery phase. So the script checks installed applications against Installomator labels, compares versions to determine if there are updates needed. And then applications with newer versions available are queued up for updates. So this phase also compares the list of queued apps against app label variables to add or remove labels as needed. The second phase is the deferral check. So if it's enabled, then prompts are displayed using swiftDialog to display to the end user the list of apps that need to be patched and the number of deferrals remaining. So you can give your end users a number of times to defer before application patching starts happening on their machines. And then finally, the installation phase is executed. Any applications that are queued up will download and install their updates. So moving on, what does this look like from a technical overview view? So right here, you can see at the start of the process, app autopatch will go through its pre-flight checks. You can set different interactive modes. So how interactive do you want to be with the end user? Depending on that setting, it'll make sure that swiftDialog is installed and updated. It'll go through the initial setup of app autopatch, so creating the local files that are needed on the machine. It goes through the discovery phase, which is seeing which applications are installed on the computers and comparing them to the Installomator app labels, preparing the installations, and then it'll go through the deferral checks. Once the max deferrals have been, if deferrals are made available to the end user and there are no more, it will go through and go to the installation phase and then a post-installation phase, and then it ends, right? So that's the technical overview of how app autopatch works. Very good for troubleshooting, kind of where you're needing to troubleshoot there. So the end user experience, right? We'll talk about that real quick. We've designed it to really be flexible, and we have kind of three offerings, three different behaviors that can suit your environments and your user preferences. So the first option we have is completely silent mode. For this, the script is completely silent, right? The discovery happens in the background and patching applications happen without user interaction. This is ideal if you're trying to, not disrupt the user from anything. Note that there are some applications that do need to, close or do anything like that. And since it's running Installomator, if you do have like prompts to go to the end user from Installomator to close the apps, those will still pop up, things like that. So the second option we do have is a silent discovery and interactive patching. So app discovery happens in the background, completely, the user's unaware. And then there is an interactive patching, right? So as the applications are downloading and installing, that messaging is presented to the end user. And it's good to kind of give a balance and give transparency to what's happening on the end user's computer there. And then we have a fully interactive mode. Here, the user sees everything, right? So they see the app discovery, they see deferral options, they see the patching process. This mode is great for environments where, like I said, transparency and user awareness are your priorities. Each mode is designed to provide the right level of interaction depending on your needs and making sure that the patches are applied efficiently without unnecessary interruptions to the end user's workflows. So what does this actually look like? Here in this demo, I'm going to be showing you the fully interactive mode, right? So as you can see, the dialog in the bottom right displays the applications being discovered in real time. So there's a few seconds there where it was analyzing some Office applications, and the end user sees that, right? So you can see here analyzing Microsoft OneNote, the path to the application. They can see that it's app autopatch doing its thing. They know what's going on their computer, right? Another good feature of this mode here is that the user can minimize. There is a little minimize button on the swiftDialog box. They can minimize that if they don't really care. But you did present that to the end user and it'll continue working in the background. Next up, we have the deferral. So if you have deferrals enabled in your environment, then the user will see something very similar to this, right? So they'll be able to see the list of applications that are queued up for updates. They can see the deferrals remaining. They have a timer down at the bottom. So that timer will count down and you can choose whether you want that to that countdown to count to their deferrals, or if that means go ahead and start the patching process. So there's flexibility there as well. By default, if the user doesn't choose an option before the timer expires, the system will automatically defer the update if there are deferrals available. Otherwise, it'll go directly to the installation phase. So the deferrals really gives the end user a chance to save their work, close their applications, and get prepared for the applications to get updated. And finally, the installation phase. Users are shown the dialog here that displays a list of applications that are being patched, along with real-time updates on the download and installation statuses of each app there. So you can see verifying, installing, and then once it goes through and actually installs it, you'll see the green check mark that everything was good. If there were errors, you'd be able to see them here. And they're the same. This right here is basically reading the Installomator log. So any errors there, you can refer to the Installomator script to see what's actually going on with those errors. So really this phase provides transparency, keeping your users informed, which apps are being updated and letting them know exactly what's happening through the entire process. So next, how do you, we'll just talk about configuration. How do you set up App Autopatch? So as I talked about before, App Autopatch scans for apps on the computer, matching all possible labels within the Installomator script, but it does allow for a tailored approach using our ignored labels, our required labels, and our optional labels. So for ignored labels, any matches in this list will be ignored. So if there are specific apps that you do not want App Autopatch to touch, you can add those app labels into the ignored labels parameter, and App Autopatch will skip over those applications. Required apps, any labels that are added to this list will force install or update, regardless if the app is installed or not. This is useful, for example, if you require all of your computers to have the Microsoft company portal on there, you can put the app label for that app in your required labels. If the computer has the app, it will get updated. If the computer doesn't have the app, it'll get installed. So that, and then if a user removes the app from their computer, when App Autopatch runs again, it'll make sure that it gets reinstalled. So required is just if you always want to make sure that that app is on there. Optional labels is kind of like a weird middle ground where the apps that you list in here will install or update applications only if they're installed, right? So this comes in handy when for like scenarios of ignoring all applications and patching only a set of applications if they exist. So what I mean there is we do accept wildcards into our parameters. So if you wanted to ignore everything in the Installomator repository, you can use a wildcard to ignore everything. But if you want to make sure that Google Chrome is updated, then you can put the Google Chrome app label in optional. It'll skip everything and only care about Google Chrome. So that's how optional labels work. So if that's a scenario that you're interested in, you can go down that road. So when we're adding the script to Jamf, there are a set of variables to use in the Jamf parameters to make the patching scenarios customized to your environment, right? So the first parameter, we have parameter 4. This is for the interactive mode. You can set this to 0 for silent, 1 for silent discovery, and interactive patching, and 2 for completely interactive. Also, don't worry about trying to get all of this information right now. This is all documented in the wiki on the GitHub repo for this. So you can always go back and see exactly what these parameters can be set to. So here in this screenshot, you can see that I've set this to fully interactive for parameter 4. Parameters 5, 6, and 7 are for the Installomator label categories. So there's the ignored labels in ignored labels in parameter 5, required labels in parameter 6, and optional labels in parameter 7. And these are all space separated, right? So you can go through your apps and just add them in a really long string in there, space separated. Parameter 8 allows for a list of options to override for the Installomator options, such as like the blocking process action and Installomator notifications. So by default, you can see that we set the blocking process action to prompt user, the notify to silent, and the logo set to app store. So if there's any parameters that Installomator uses that you want to overwrite, you can use parameter 8 there to define your own Installomator options. Parameter 9 is for deferral mode. So the default is disabled within app autopatch, but setting this parameter to an integer will enable deferral mode and set the maximum number of deferrals. So if you wanted to give your users 3 deferrals, you can set this to 3, and then it'll go through like that. Additionally, within the script body itself, there are other options that you might want to configure, such as deferral timer. So this sets the amount of time in seconds that are given to the user to respond to the deferral prompt. The deferral timer action, like I said before, the default is set to defer, but if you want to have it just continue on to the installation process, you can do so there. The next 2 variables are based on 2 calculated values. So patch status and patch start date, which are useful for patching cadences. For example, let's say you want to run everything based on a weekly patching cadence, meaning users need to successfully patch apps at least once a week, right? So you can see that we set that to 7. And then the patch week start day 3. So talking about the patch status, the patch status is a true false flag indicating if the patching had been completed or not for the patching cadence. And the patch start date is the date that the patching cadence begins, which is set the first time that the script runs. So if you want to set your patching cadence to Wednesdays, like we have it here, you can set that to 3. You can see the value for Monday is 1, Tuesday's 2, and so on. And then the days to reset is going to be the amount of days until it resets the patch status. So dig into the wiki, test there. Deferrals are awesome. It's a great way to give your users flexibility on when they want to go through and process those updates. So yeah, so one more time, going back to these days until reset and the patch week start date. the days until reset indicates the number of days after the patch start date to reset the patch status to false. The patch week start day allows you to set the patch start date to a specific day of the week, and that allows you to keep everyone on the same patching cadence. For example, here we have it set to Wednesdays. And so if a Mac is offline for a few days and the script runs for the first time on Friday, the start date would still have the prior Wednesday's date. So you keep everyone on the same patching cadence. And then finally, the last variable there is for max display assertion counts. So the number of times that App Autopatch can auto defer based on it finding display assertions. So people sharing screens or in Zoom meetings or things like that, do not disturb. Additionally, we added some webhook functionality to App Autopatch. So what this allows you to do is you can add a webhook URL for either Slack or Microsoft Teams, and that enables real-time notifications. So every time App Autopatch completes a cycle, or if there are failures detected, you and your team can be notified immediately. These notifications are a great way to stay on top of patching activities and quickly address any issues without needing to manually monitor the processes. This screenshot here is an example of a Slack webhook notification of a successful run. This shows the computer info and the applications that were updated. And then clicking the button for View Computer in Jamf Pro will actually take you to that computer record in Jamf Pro. So it's pretty nice. And again, more variables. So for example, one option allows you to automatically pull the latest version of Installomator script based on version date. So that is the use latest available Installomator script version. There's options for how you handle apps that are not installed within the applications directory or in the user's home directory. How you want to how often do you want to run discoveries and things like that, right? So I definitely encourage you to go check out the wiki for all the information on how you can configure App Autopatch to work in your environment. There's a lot of different ways that you can go about configuring it. So definitely check out the wiki. So the burning question, I want to use App Autopatch. How do I actually get it started in my Jamf instance? So all you got to do is upload the App Autopatch script to Jamf Pro and fill out your parameter labels. That'll make it easier to configure the actual policy. You go through, you create a new policy, configure the display name, the trigger, the execution frequency, configure your script payload so that you have all of your parameters set, adjust your scope and test it out. So here's an example of what this looks like. So in this example, we have the script configured for silent discovery and interactive patching. We have a list of applications to ignore, some standard Installomator options, and our deferrals are set to 2. And that's it. And then when the Jamf Pro policy runs, App Autopatch runs, sets everything up, and goes through, runs its discovery, attempts to patch any apps that are outdated. And our future development. So we're continually improving App Autopatch. We're trying to take what's suggested to us from the community, try to implement that. I think the biggest voice is the MacAdmins community, right? So we really want to implement things that are suggested to us. We know that it'll help out the MacAdmins be able to keep a secure environment. So any any kind of suggestions are welcome. We want to keep improving App Autopatch. Right now, we're looking to introduce even more features to enhance automation, expand the app compatibility, and provide deeper integration with other tools. So, and this is all based on feedback that we're getting about the project. Our goal is always to just keep refining the patching process. We want to make it more efficient and customizable for all of the MacAdmins, and really contribute to providing a seamless and secure experience for the end users. Right now, we're working on version 3.0. If you are using App Autopatch, you may have seen the beta that's come out for 3.0. But what the main features here are is we're looking at using a configuration profile to manage App Autopatch, and this can come from MDM or a local configuration profile. This will be one big step to making App Autopatch MDM agnostic, right? So Intune or whatever your MDM of choice is would be able to use App Autopatch, and it wouldn't be strictly limited to Jamf Pro. Also, we're looking at having the ability to use command line triggers. So customize your App Autopatch run, your script using command line triggers. We want to have automation and scheduling via a launch daemon. So right now, the Jamf Pro policy is what kicks off App Autopatch, and potentially, if you have a really long run of App Autopatch, you're holding up the Jamf binary for that amount of time. We're looking to alleviate that by using a launch daemon instead of using the Jamf binary to call with the policy. We want to have enhanced deferral options, so things like scheduling when you want App Autopatch to patch your updates, things like that. And we also want to be able to process these updates if a user is not logged in. So be able to process the updates at a login window. Those are some of the bigger features that we're looking at with 3.0. Some of them are already in the 3.0 beta. Some of them are still yet to come. So that's kind of some of the future development for App Autopatch. So lastly, I want to wrap up and give you some resources that can help you out, and also make some time for questions. Like I said, I encourage you to explore the project, contribute, and provide feedback as we continue to develop and enhance it. Really, App Autopatch would not be where it is today without the MacAdmins community. So very thankful for everyone that's contributed to the project, everyone who uses the project, and everybody who continues to provide feedback on the project. So here are some resources for App Autopatch. So there's my blog post. That URL there will take you to the latest App Autopatch blog post. The second link there will take you to the wiki. And then we have our MacAdmin Slack channel, which is just App Autopatch. So now I'd like to open it up for any questions, Sam, if that's okay.
Wow. That was amazing. It's an amazing work. I've never thought that application patching on an Apple fleet would be that easy. I am loving it. And I'm going to set this up. I have never tested it before this. I've explored the tool, but I'm going to set it up in my environment, test it out, and implement in production starting next year. Amazing one, Rob, amazing one. I'm very happy. And before we go to Q&A, very important thing for all the people here, App Autopatch is heavily dependent on Installomator. And if you don't know what is Installomator, what is labels, I would recommend to check our video on India's Apple Admin YouTube channel on Installomator from Armin. So Armin is the creator, one of the creator of Installomator, and he presented Installomator earlier this year to us. So please take the link from the chat, look and learn about Installomator, because that's going to help you in app autopatch. And now we can start for Q&A. Thanks, Rob, for this amazing presentation.
Yeah, thank you.